whatever you feel comfortable sharing, as you've been doing kind of your own interpersonal growth and spiritual formation stuff, what has kind of come from this journey of our family?
Well, this is Erica speaking. When I went to college, that was my first opportunity to see how other family systems, how other people interacted and were. I mean, my first ever thought that my family wasn't normal when I was talking to a friend in middle school, and I was like, oh no, I don't want my sister there. We're sisters, we're mean to each other. And she's like, no, my sister's not mean to me. And I was like, that is crazy. I cannot imagine a life like that. And so, that was my only hint that there was something different. But to only see other friends, if their family's divorced or if their family has some other issue going on in their life, then I thought, okay, everybody's got issues, just that's how it is. And this is our issue. But when I went to college, I saw a lot more like healthy family systems where there wasn't a lot, bearing down on their relationships, and they all are happy and smiley all the time. And I was like, how? And so I think seeing that made me feel self-conscious about my own family system. And so I went to therapy. I realized how many of my own like toxic habits I have communicating and in relationships were born from my family growing up and how I was treated or how I treated others in reaction. So I went to therapy for it, and that really helped, but also just talking to my family about it and creating that reconciliation. So as we mentioned, I talked to Cindy about it on a drive once, but I think the scarier part for me was talking to my parents, because as I mentioned in the book, it was not exactly the best way to go around it.
Let's just say she was raw.
Well, in my mind, my perspective was, these are educated adults who are counselors and they listen to their people's problems. So I'm just going to show up, list all my problems. They're going to be like, yeah, you have problems. And then we move on. But that was not that is not the way to go about things.
It was very raw.
It was very raw.
Raw and a little accusational. But to get it out. See, Dan and I had gone through emotionally healthy relationships communication course. And we were practicing some of the active and incarnational listening, but it was triggering, right? So it's coming from your perspective and your pain. And it is good that you came to us and shared with us your thoughts and your perspective. It could have had a different way we went about it. But the end result is that it's brought open communication, reconciliation, and where the family had kind of gotten compartmentalized. We were kind of kidding at the beginning about Shark Island and Kraken and the party island and there's the little boat visiting all the islands and trying not to get got by the Kraken between the islands. That kind of compartmentalization, I wouldn't say that we were an unhealthy family system, but certainly very compartmentalized around everything kind of revolved around like what's going to happen at school this school year, this teacher, and that kind of set the tone really for the family. And so it did create just a lot of dissension. And I think too, survival. I think each person was in survival mode for a different reason. Dan was working and during environment and economy, that things were changing, the business that you were working in. I was wearing all these hats and trying to do all this stuff, getting kids to therapy. I needed therapy myself, Sydney's stuff and what would happen would come home. And with Erica, her silence I took to mean she was doing better than she was. So there was kind of all that going on. And we were, especially when we lived in North Carolina, I feel like just really kind of surviving. Things got a little bit better as far as the school system when we moved to Georgia, but then the peer issues for Sydney got worse. So where it stopped being the administrators and teachers that brought concern, it was the peers that brought concern. So I want to kind of go back then. I asked Erica about her journey, and that was in college. So your kind of acceptance journey of yourself, you shared a little bit before that you've had differing opinions about being on the spectrum and you didn't want to be a self-fulfilling prophecy, and that you were going to kind of take the wheel and be more intentional about what you wanted to do and where you wanted to go and all of that. But what kind of about your own kind of processing journey about being on the spectrum, especially in middle school and high school, which is what primarily you wrote about, without naming anyone or any person, just what was the difference for you from administrators and educators kind of being the bullies and the bad guys to your peers? And how did that affect your identity with autism?
So I think the main difference is, I think as I mentioned in the book, there were straight up teachers that just straight up told me they didn't like me and that I was nothing more than a paycheck and they were going to handle me. And that was that. So at least the adults were honest about their feelings toward me. You don't like me, I don't like you, cool. Peers, on the other hand, that's where you start getting into that two-faced betrayal kind of thing. I say all these things to your face and then immediately go talk about you behind your back. So I think that's the main difference in between dealing with the adults who are supposedly looking out for my best interests versus those in my own peer group who said they were my friends and we would want to hang out and do things to my face. But the minute they're in a different setting, they're talking trash about me, they're planning pranks on me, they're doing all sorts of very negative things toward my direction. So I think that's the main difference between elementary school and middle school and high school is elementary relationships where I got invited to things because we were such a small class, you invite everyone in the class. That was it. Elementary school, I assumed everyone was my friend. Versus middle school, it was becoming very apparent what cliques were. And if you were not in one, you were the target of one. And I assumed because I had some friends who were in these little niches that I was in and I was good, not realizing that I had the giant target on my back because I was different and they were nice to me because that's what they're taught to do is be nice and polite. And then the minute you're not in their immediate setting, it's all right. So let's trash talk Sydney real quick. So I think that's the main difference between them.
They go to college and that's a mixed bag of what happens there. But you said it was kind of in college, you decided like, okay, I'm just going to use the A word. And if you're my friend, you're my friend. And if you're not, I'm not, but I'm kind of done with the masking and pretending to be something that I'm not.
Pretty much. High school went through some very interesting friendship dynamics. My best friend, it's like that Sky High movie that Disney made a couple years ago, where it's like my best friend became my worst enemy became my best friend. Kind of like that. It's like all of my friendship dynamics changed in high school. My best friend did become my quote worst enemy, and my worst enemy did become my quote best friend to the point we even roomed in college together. 1 year. So that was kind of my mindset going into college is, you know what? I clearly miss every single red flag when it comes to a person. So I'm just going to be upfront about who I am and they can take it or leave it. At least that way, if there's something funky going on, it's not going to be on me because I'm going to be completely open and honest about who I am, what I stand for. So if there's any kind of like, I'm not really quite sure I want to hang out with this person. At least it's not on me. I tried, I gave it an effort. So that was kind of how I approached relationships in college. Like, if you want to hang out with me, cool, great. If you don't, awesome, cool. Go be over there. There's all of that campus over there you can go hang out with. So that was kind of, and then in college, I got a really good friend who helped kind of turn my perspective like, oh, friendships don't have to be just tolerating each other, that you can actually enjoy. I can enjoy a person's company. I don't have to be alone here on chaotic introvert island. It's okay to have a person come to my island every once in a while. So I think that was the main shift, was going from tolerating people to actually having healthy relationships.
Did you learn anything different from reading their chapters? What was like a new learning, new lens, new perspective, and reading the girls' lived experience?
So I knew most of Sydney's. Erica's was new. One of the things that was difficult at the time, because when Sydney was in elementary school, Erica was little, not actually this little. And her hearing problems kept her from being articulate. So it was...
we love SLPs.
It was unfortunate that she wasn't able to express more, and what she could express was always fun looking, right? It was that, you know, it's hard to see that a minion's ever mad, right? It can,
What a little minion.
right? It can only say move, right? And that always sounds fun. And so that drug on for me much of the rest, and my ability to see into her anything other than meet move, you know, happy minion. There was a whole other person inside of there that I missed.
Meet move. Like Beaker Bop, which is her name. We called her Beaker.
Based off the Muppet.
From the Muppet, yeah. Because unfortunately, that's what a lot of Erica's communication sounded like, which was fun and cute.
Mm-hmm.
But you got speech therapy. It's not like
I'm speaking and you understand.
Yes, and so we went from not being able to articulate to she articulates a lot. Often.
Mm-hmm.